Okay, I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing for Monday, July 22nd, 2024. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Ricardo's here. Mr. Dawson.
Present.
Ms. Downs. Mr. Caderas. Mr. Kurtz.
Here.
Mr. Natale.
Here.
Mr. Strollo.
Here.
Mr. Selmont. Mr. Affey. Ms. Blake.
Here.
Mr. Hilsinger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Commission and public, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Caderas is here. Yeah, Mr. Caderas just walked in. Okay. As far as business tonight, I am going to take the liberty of putting number 2 first over number 1 because I think it's going to be really, really fast. So can we hear the call for the special permit on behalf of Barbara Budd for the cottage food license, please?
Application for a special permit on behalf of Barbara Budd, applicant. Applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to Section 30, Schedule A of the zoning regulations for a cottage food license located at 815 Marion Road, Assessors Map 34, Lot 13, Zoned R80.
No. Okay, thank you. We just need your name and address for the record and then give us a little history or story what's going to happen with your application.
Sure. My name's Barbara Budd. I live at 815 Marion Road in Cheshire.
Is that on? I don't think that's on. Oh, it is on. Okay.
My name's Barbara Budd. I live at 815 Marion Road, Cheshire, Connecticut. I've been baking bread for a long time and started handing it out to neighbors and getting good feedback, and so it's sort of turned into a little thing where I'm looking to sell it at farmers markets, and so I'm looking to apply for a cottage license with the Department of Consumer Protection and need proof that my property is properly zoned, I guess. There'll
Okay.
be no deliveries, there's no customers coming to the house, it's just, I'll be baking about 10 to 20 loaves of bread a week in my kitchen.
Okay. For commissioners that don't know, I think we're talking about maybe we're changing something here so they won't have to come in, these cottage license will not have to come in for public hearings because it is kind of ridiculous for, you know, what they're doing really isn't disturbance to the neighbors, so, but we haven't done it yet, so that's why you're here. But are there any questions from commission members?
No, I'd say, sorry. Thank you for saying what you did. You answered the questions that we would ask, simple questions, so.
Okay.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this application? Nope. Okay, I'll be closing the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We'll go back to number 1, petition zone change, text amendment of Brant Smith for Hydroclonics LLC. Can we hear the call for that, please?
Petition for zone text amendment on behalf of Brant Smith, Hydroclonics LLC, application. Applicant is requesting to amend Section 31, prohibited uses, 31.4, remove cultivators from the list of prohibited cannabis licenses.
Thank you. And representing the applicant?
It's me.
It's you, the applicant.
Yep. I just wanted to read this, and then if you have any questions.
Sure.
I think that makes
I just
the
need your
most
name and
sense.
address for the record.
Sure, it's Brant. You want my home address or the business address?
Because
they're different.
Business is fine.
Yeah.
Business, Brant Smith, 35 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Just get a little closer to the mic so we can pick
Sorry.
it up. Yeah, if you're a little taller.
God made me different.
You can actually pick it up if you need to, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can lean down. So anyway, my name is Brant Smith, and I'm requesting to amend Section 31 and remove cultivators from the list of prohibited cannabis licenses. By way of background, I have owned and operated an 80,000 square foot greenhouse complex since 2002 that is located on Diana Court, 3 doors down from Counterweight, a craft beer manufacturer. Our location is far removed from any residential areas. For the last 5 years, we have been growing cannabis in our greenhouses. The cannabis we grow is called hemp and is basically the same plant as marijuana, the only difference being that hemp contains less than 0.3% of THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. By allowing a cultivator license to be utilized in Cheshire, it would enable me to potentially be able to grow recreational and medical marijuana with partners who currently have a Section 149 provisional license, for which they paid a $3 million fee. This would also enable me to earn a fair return on my investment and to provide my labor force of 25 people the opportunity to earn a good living. Quite simply, I am a farmer that has been growing agricultural products in Cheshire, a town known for its history concerning greenhouses and agriculture, for over 20 years. When it is all said and done, marijuana is a plant and an agricultural crop. I have recently reviewed the public hearing from last year, as well as the subsequent planning and zoning meeting concerning this subject. With respect to the public hearing, I believe there were 15 citizens that testified. These people were all concerned about having marijuana being sold out of dispensaries in Cheshire, providing potential access to children who reside in Cheshire. The only mention of cultivation was by a gentleman who thought it would be good for the farmers of Cheshire to be allowed to grow the plant. I totally understand those concerns, but I want to assure the Commission that the recreational and medicinal products we plan to grow will not be distributed or sold in the town of Cheshire in any way. We will only sell the product in licensed dispensaries that are located in other towns throughout the state of Connecticut. Thank you for your time to listen to me, and I am happy to answer any questions you might have. I would also like, almost there, I would also like to invite any member of the committee for a tour of my facility, should you have an interest. Questions?
Can I just ask him one question first? You said something about a license and the $3 million. You went through the numbers. What was that license for? You're partnering with a person.
That license is for a marijuana license. The only way you can have a cultivation license.
Can you explain, what do you mean by the marijuana license? I mean, that's...
Section 149 is a license, and one of our gentlemen can probably explain it better than me.
He can speak here, that's fine.
Do you want him to answer?
I just want to know what it is. I mean, you're
Yeah,
partnering
it's
with
the
something
only
that I don't
way-
know.
When they did the original law, it's the only way that you can have a license in the state of Connecticut for cultivation, a full cultivation license. And I'll introduce Robert Fields.
How you doing, Mr. Chairman? My name is Robert Fields. I'm a lobbyist here in Connecticut.
Yeah, I want to hear what he says.
And so what Mr. Smith is talking about, the Department of Consumer Protection handed out what they call a Section 149 license. It's full cultivation license. It allows for individuals to grow up to 250,000 square feet. And that 250,000 square foot license costs $3 million here in the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so you applied for the license?
I have not. I'm a lobbyist. I
Okay.
worked on the legislation.
Okay, so there's somebody else that...
There's,
I
there's-
can't have you... I need you at the microphone. I just...
There's 26 individuals here in the state of Connecticut that applied for the license, more than 26 individuals. There were 26 individuals who were awarded a full cultivation license here in the state of Connecticut. Out of that 26, maybe about half have paid the $3 million fee to have a full cultivation license, which allows them to grow up to 250,000 square feet.
And they can do it at multiple different locations in Connecticut?
Nope, they can only do it in one location, and the caveat for this, having this license, you can only grow inside of a disproportionately impacted area, or DIA as it's called. And basically, that is defined through census data. And basically, it would be areas inside of an inner city municipality, so to speak. Waterbury, for an example. Most of Waterbury, about 90% of Waterbury is a DIA.
It has to be grown in a DIA.
It has to be, currently, yes, it has to be grown inside of a DIA. So, I guess I was going to speak a little bit to this. Next legislative session, 2025, we're going to petition the General Law Committee to amend that, to allow for full cultivation to be done outside of the disproportionately impacted areas. And this will allow for 250,000 square feet to be grown in other parts of Connecticut that are not deemed disproportionately impacted areas.
So I guess my next question would be, are we putting the cart in front of the horse here?
No, not at all, because this is a process that takes time, but while it takes time, in order for someone like Mr. Smith to partner with a Section 149, the town of Cheshire must reverse or amend this current section that prohibits full cultivation.
But no one from Cheshire there's no areas in Cheshire that are a DIA, is that what you called it?
Yes, currently there are no areas within the borders of Cheshire that would constitute a DIA.
So let me ask my question again. Are we putting the cart in front of the horse?
No, I don't think so, because I think that simultaneously, in order for us to go to Hartford next session and seek what we're seeking, the town of Cheshire also has to allow for cultivation, or else it'd be deemed pointless or frivolous for us to go up to Hartford and ask for.
Well, there's a lot of other places other than Cheshire that are not.
I understand, but currently, Mr. Smith, his facility is here in Cheshire.
Answer that quickly?
Yeah, you guys can go back and
Okay.
forth too. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of the.
Fine. I have somebody that wants to partner with me. If I don't have if cultivation isn't allowed here, they will not partner with me. So I need to have this removed so that we can come to terms with them, because in the next session, they are going to change the law. I can assure you that. But if you guys don't change it now, then they're not going to do anything with me, because they can't, because I'm prohibited by what you did last year.
And what we did was 10,000 square foot
So-
max. Is that what a micro?
No, so originally, just to jog the commission's memory, first, when you did the first moratorium, you carved out micro cultivators, which that was the 10,000 square foot max for a micro cultivator, based on actually Mr. Smith's testimony at the moratorium. Then at the public hearing, where we actually drafted regulations that had standards, basically safeguards in to prevent any kind of impact from these uses. You heard from the public overwhelmingly that they did not want marijuana uses in town. So then we elected to remove these uses and put them as prohibited. Because this law is different than a normal land use, you actually have to take one step further, and unlike your normal uses, if it's not in your regs, it's not allowed, you actually have to say it's prohibited. Because otherwise it can go someplace where like uses are allowed. By just removing this cap, you open the door for anyone, not just the applicant that's here before you. And I think that one thing that you need to consider is that they're asking permission to change the rules for something that's not allowed under state law currently. And I think that as your staff, that's a slippery slope to go down if you're going to start changing the regs to allow for things that are not currently allowed by state statute.
Did you tell them that?
Mr. Talley, Mr. Mercado. Yeah, look,
Okay. So I don't want to repeat everything that Mr. Gooden said, but you're looking for us to ignore what the public did so you can make some money, cultivating marijuana, and open it up not only for your property, but for anywhere in town, for anybody to come in that's able to get a license, correct?
I really don't see the downside to that. We're not selling it in the town. That's what all those people testified last year to. The only person that I mentioned in what I wrote that mentioned cultivation at all said it would be a great idea to allow the farmers to grow. It's not going to be in the town. Cultivation, you already are allowing cultivation with the micro cultivator. I'm not going to do.
Actually, could I correct that statement? We took the micro cultivator out of the regulations when we adopted the prohibition, so we don't allow any uses. And I explained this to you, Mr. Smith, when you came into my office.
So you're saying now there is no micro cultivation license
We really are
allowed?
going to repeat history and have this conversation again. Yes, I did tell you it's removed from the regulations.
Mr. Mercado. Oh, sorry, were you?
I'm good. Something else that I heard, you mentioned that you were going to give them right to the dispensaries, so that means your packaging also, which is not allowed. So if we were to grant this and you open up at 80,000 square foot cultivating, you're going to also do packaging in there so that you can give it right to the dispensaries?
I don't plan to.
You said that.
I believe he may have misspoke, sir. The state requires the packaging to be done separately. So he would, if allowed to, and if this partnership were to go through, he would abide by all state laws and Department of Consumer Protection regulatory frameworks that have been implemented under state law here in Connecticut. So if he mentioned that, he may have misspoke, but that's not the case.
Mr. Dawson? You hear no?
If I may add, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
please.
Through you. You know, I honestly, I hear, you know, some of the concerns, but I do believe, from my experience as a lobbyist and someone who's worked in the cannabis realm through legislation, that Mr. Smith has one of the finest facilities here in the East Coast. It may be in the United States, and it's here in Cheshire. And I think it's a great opportunity for the town of Cheshire, for medicinal patients too. That's the big key, that the state right now currently, the medical program and the cannabis program is struggling. Out of those 26 individuals, only one is cultivating currently. And because of that, people who have cancer, medical patients cannot find relief through marijuana. And so opening this up would help those individuals and provide for those individuals to find a alternative route to other pain medications and other things of that nature. And so I just wanted to make that.
I understand what you're saying, and I, especially me sitting up here, would never go against anyone that is wishing to do an agricultural project. I just have a problem with the fact that what Mr. Glidden stated, that it's not allowed here, and to help him out on a personal level, I guess, is what you're asking us to change the regulation for? So you can make a personal deal
No,
with
I'm
someone
not
else who has a
sure.
license? I don't get
thought-
it.
I was under the impression that microcultivation was allowed here. This is the first I'm hearing that it's not allowed. Really, all we were asking for, under the thought that if microcultivation was allowed at 10,000 square feet, just to expand the canopy space to allow for 250,000 square feet or less.
So technically, is micro cultivation allowed in a non-DIA? So I think we didn't know that, and that is the reason why we took it out when a year ago or 2 years ago, I forgot when it was, we had these meetings.
We took it out, if I recall, the commission got so much public concern about it. And you did hear about other concerns, because I believe several members of the commission discussed about the cultivators in general, the one in Watertown, for example, near the UPS, where you could smell it. That was discussed. I expressed my experiences with Curaleaf in Simsbury. That's the 68,000 square foot building that does medical and recreational there, and that was and I'm not trying to invent the history here, but the commission kind of said, well, you know what, if we're not going to let we're not going to allow any uses. So we voted to actually include microcultivators as the prohibited use, meaning changing that section of the regs. And the other thing too, just to be clear on this, because I'm not aware that Consumer Protection has changed the regs. The growing of the product is required to be in a building. A commercial greenhouse is not a approved building. I know this because Curaleaf, while I was in Simsbury, explored the option of doing a 45,000 square foot commercial greenhouse, in which Consumer Protection said that is not allowed under the law. So there's a lot of issues with this that are not consistent with state law, in my professional opinion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
I would push back against the last comment that this individual just spoke about. Greenhouses are currently prohibited in the state of Connecticut to cultivate cannabis.
I've actually heard it from other things that they are not, but
No, they are, I can guarantee you. I will show you in the state statute. Yeah, I can show you in the state statute. Even not only just greenhouses, you can grow outdoor. No, not even in a greenhouse. You can literally take a plot of land and grow cannabis. So it can be in a greenhouse, or it can be outdoor grow under no structure.
But Mr. Bowen.
You are a lobbyist?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're not an attorney, you are attorney?
I'm not an attorney.
You're not an attorney. So you're not giving us a legal opinion?
No, sir.
Okay, then I think at this point, I'm going to go with what staff says rather than what you say. But my question is, I don't like people shaking their head at me. Sorry, it's just. Okay? All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. is there a byproduct of the growing, like is there an odor that is emitted during the growing process that could affect surrounding properties?
Yes, sir. If you currently were to visit Mr. Smith's facility right now, the hemp that's being grown in there, by the time you reach the door, you'll be able to smell a strong odor or an odor of cannabis. But I think his facility is pretty large, and there's no residential areas, no houses that abut his property whatsoever.
No, but you have people in factories that are working there that might not appreciate the odor there.
Yeah, I agree.
It does emit an odor. I don't see, in order for not us to vote for a zone text change, but for a zone text change to be considered, there has to be a benefit to the town. And I don't see, at least right now from what I've heard tonight, that there is any benefit to the town of Cheshire for this zone text change.
So I live not too far from there. When I go down Black's Road from my house, sometimes I can smell it depending on which way the wind's blowing. Right behind there is the fields for the kids for soccer. Every once in a while, you can smell it over there. I can't imagine if it grew 8 times or more, how that would be for the people that live in that area, that have lived in this area forever. I know there's complaints now, I hear it, from what they smell from the hemp, and that's small and it's allowed. Growing that 10 times the size, I don't think that's right for Cheshire.
I respect your opinion, sir. Yeah.
So, under what you're saying again, I know you're not giving a legal opinion, as Mr. Bowman said. What's the minimum acreage
The minimum acreage in terms of
to open up a cultivation?
full cultivation,
Grow it outside, from what you're saying.
25,000 square feet.
25,000 square feet? So
Yes, 25.
about half an acre you need?
25.
For a cultivation.
So, okay, so it's more than a half acre. So let's say 3/4 of an acre. Great. Okay. So what you're asking us to do then is open this up to the town, so anybody that has 3/4 of an acre can grow if they get a license, no matter where it is.
So, technically, yes.
There you go.
But-
That's
but-
good.
But can I finish, may I, Mr. Chairman? Finish?
Yes, go ahead. You have the floor.
So there's only 26 licenses that have been handed out. There won't be any more licenses, right? There's only
The
26.
state changes daily.
It won't in this regard. It's
You
already.
said it
been
was
enough.
only DIA, and now you said next session they're gonna get rid of that. So what's the difference? They're gonna go from 6 to 12. They already changed the amount of how many businesses can sell. They went from, I don't know, it was 2 to 4 to 6. They change on a whim.
Yeah, I'm not sure
So
about
we
the
have,
selling.
we have no trust in Harvard.
I understand, and you have the right. You have the right to push back. This is your town. I understand that, and I respect it. But I do think that at the end of the day, cannabis is already being cultivated in your town currently. Hemp. It's the same plant. And all we're asking is just for you to allow for Mr. Smith to be able to cultivate cannabis. It's the same. It's really the same
Well,
plant.
you're asking us to allow anyone who can get a license, not just Mr. Smith.
They have to pay $3 million.
Yeah, it's
Great,
it's-
they have $3 million, they could do it, from what you're saying.
it's a lot more complicated than that.
Okay.
Mr. Bowman has a question.
Those have been closed.
How large is your property?
I have 18 acres of property. Now, most of it, let me finish. Most of it can't be utilized.
Why is
Because it's
that?
wetlands. So
I think there's
have,
an agricultural exemption for wetlands.
well, I'm not,
So
we'll cut
you have
these.
18 acres, and it's not restricted, because you're wrong, because agricultural uses are allowed in wetlands.
Okay, we'll sign something that says we limit the amount. I mean,
So
come
how many
on.
square feet of greenhouse would you like to put up?
I already have it up. I've had it up for over 20 years.
So you're not going to put any additional square footage of greenhouse on, you're going to use what you have and never expand it.
Again, I don't want you to ever put me into that, but I can certainly say that my potential partners and I would go down under 250,000, we cut it in half. So that's less than 3 acres, just so you know. I mean, right now, if I don't get this, and this is, you know, it's your choice and your decision, I'm operating right now, because of the price of hemp, I'm operating on a break-even or slightly below break-even point. I have 25 employees that I keep it open for them at this point. You guys don't do this, that's your decision. I'm gonna have to shut down, because the only reason I'm keeping it open is so that I have a workforce next year when this is allowed by the legislature. And it's been an uphill battle, but we're there now. And I have a partner, but they won't commit to anything, nor would I if I were them, because right now it's not permitted in this town. Yes, sir.
Of the cultivation licenses that exist, how many of them are individuals?
Well, the Section 149s are mainly, and there's only 11 that have paid of the 26 that were approved, and there won't be any more that pay, to be honest.
And how many of them are individuals versus corporations?
Well, there is a social equity person that owns the license. They own 60% of the entity. The financial people behind it are either wealthy Connecticut residents, there's probably 3 of those, and then other things called MSOs, multi-state operators. When you have a limited license thing like we have here in Connecticut, what happens is you get an oligopoly. You get very limited licenses. And those MSOs work hard to make it so that they're the only ones doing it. You know, my opportunity is to provide to start a craft industry here in the state. And it's also to provide medicinal marijuana to those people that have cancer and what have you. Because the 4 original medical marijuana manufacturers have all switched over to recreational cannabis, by and large. So the medicinal people, and there's another person here that can attest to it, they've been screwed. If you look at the sales month to month, it's going down over the last year for medical. And it's also going down for recreational because it's an oligopoly, and the product that they grow is crap. So that's why I need to get this done now, so that I can get a deal done with these other people that have the license. I'll never have the license because they've shut the door on cultivation licenses. You can check with other people or whatever. There's only 11 of them. And I happen to have actually 2 of them that want to use my space because it's the best space in the state. And I can't use it because it's less than 2.5 miles outside of DIA, which is Meriden. All my people, I'd say 90% of the people that work for me come from that DIA in Meriden. And, you know, I'm going to have to let them all go. And I don't think that's right. Because as somebody pointed out, I don't see where Cheshire gets anything for this. I don't see where they lose anything. I honestly don't. It's not going to be sold here in this town. That's what the people complained about last year. There wasn't one person that talked about cultivation. Not one. I reviewed that tape very thoroughly. So I'm frustrated. I'm just telling you.
I'm a little frustrated too, because, I mean, we asked a couple questions and you didn't have answers for. You're answering the question, but you didn't bring anything in for us. Like, you know, I actually heard.
I'll be happy to answer it to the best of my
I
ability.
did not think you were labeled to grow in a greenhouse.
That's incorrect. That's totally incorrect. That was
Do you have
3
anything
years.
that-
I had the DCP come and visit my
Listen,
greenhouse.
listen,
Smith.
please calm down.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Smith,
Can you
I-
answer that question for me
Mr.
with facts? That's
Mr.
all
Chair-
I'm asking.
Mr. Chairman, I can send you something in the email, send all of you something in an email
If you're going to send anything to the commission, it comes to staff. It doesn't go
Yeah.
directly to the commission. And further, my comments that I made, that the chair has also echoed, that is based on our understanding of the law, and I'm making my comments
wrong.
directly from consumer protection. I'm sorry that.
Well, that's, you have your, we all get a chance to get that in.
Respectfully.
That is one thing, I mean, you're getting inflamed over this, but we're just trying to protect ourselves. The other thing I really don't like is the fact that nothing's changed with Hartford. I don't see why Hartford can't change it first, and then you come to us and say it's allowed here. It seems like we're approving something that we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what they're gonna approve. We don't know what they're gonna do, and that's just,
I guess-
to me.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, if for whatever reason they didn't approve it, then it doesn't have any impact on Cheshire whatsoever. It won't be allowed.
Actually, once you open this door, the door is wide open. So let's just say that one of these users, for example, the cultivator that's in Watertown, decides to purchase a property in Cheshire and relocate that entire process to here. They can.
And the
So-
other, the other thing I have a little,
So-
it's probably something we can't consider,
They won't
but
be able to because the state wouldn't approve it. It has to be done inside of a disproportionately impacted area. So if it's Cheshire
No,
less.
what I'm using as a comparison is a cultivator, one of the major 4 cultivators in the
Correct.
state. So you're confusing the facts.
No, I'm not. I'm not. No, sir, I'm not. Trust
he
me.
has the floor. Would you let him
Yes,
speak,
sir.
please?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
So one of the 4 cultivators, if you remove this prohibition and they decide to purchase a property in town, they could relocate to town. And when I'm talking about the larger cultivators, like I said, I use the Watertown facility as example. You also have the Simsbury example, and Rocky Hill, I believe, is the other location, or was Portland. And there's one more, I think, West Haven, or Fairfield, one of the two. Regardless to say, you open the door, the use then can come in town. So, and the other thing you're charged with, which I haven't heard anything about, is consistency with the plan of conservation and development. You've talked about the use and the impacts the use has on the community, but there is nothing stated on how this is consistent with your plan of conservation and development. My opinion, it is not consistent with your plan of conservation and development.
Mr. Strollo.
Okay. I respect what you do, lobbyists, I really do. But originally, they lobbied all that to get the inner cities to bring money into the inner cities.
Correct.
Okay? So, and my feeling is, he sent on 18 acres of property that he could sell for a serious profit, and he could buy a piece of property in Waterbury and do whatever he wants. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. I look at it a totally different deal. As far as having it in Cheshire and being where it is, you can't tell me that at night people won't break in there and steal it. I mean, that's because that happens, okay? And I know that. I mean, it's been going on for years, and I mean, and I know stuff came out of your place too. So I've heard things, and I've actually told somebody that took stuff out of that place. So it's nothing safe at night.
So respect.
Nothing. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that, like, so now you're saying that if we make it bigger and even more, so then what's going to happen? So now you're bringing in a whole different group coming in at night and trying to steal stuff out of there. It's really, now you have to have more police department, you have to have security. I mean, there's more to it than just putting in a building. And I mean, just the theft or the risk of theft in that area is bad.
So, Mr. Chairman, may I push back? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Don't push
So-
back. You can answer the question.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mean, sorry.
Be a
I'm not
lobbyist.
trying to be combative at all. I respect what you all do, and I respect your opinion.
Sorry.
But for someone to steal a cultivation plant, 2 things have to happen, right? First of all, they have to know that it's harvest season, and they have to know that the plant is ready to be harvested, or else they're just wasting their time, right? And the second thing is, I mean, the plant, I don't know if you've seen a cannabis plant, but they're rather large, and their roots are rather deep. And so I'm 240 pounds. I'm a pretty strong guy. I couldn't rip a full-grown cannabis plant out of the ground by myself. There's just no way for me to do that.
Well, they're just going to take the top.
But you're wasting, but then I'll be wasting my time if I don't know. I would have to time it perfectly. The harvest season is so small. It's like any other crop. There's a harvest season. Like tomatoes, you would have to know the exact time to harvest it, or you're wasting your time.
Like you said, I think it just puts a huge risk to the community having that kind of. Now, I tow for UPS in Watertown. I go up there all the time towing trucks, and you are a mile away, and you could smell it. That's how bad it is. So, I mean, in that smaller,
Never had anyone
So let-
well, I'm just saying is that a mile away, when you're going to the one at UPS.
Mr. Dawson's
Watertown.
next.
fencing 12
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
So just to finish the
Sure,
question.
go ahead, yeah.
Just to finish answering this question. And the Department of Consumer Protection has very strict standards when it comes to protecting these facilities. Fencing 12 feet tall, I would have to rip out a 6-foot tall plant and know the proper time to rip it out, scale a 12-foot fence, scale back. At that point, it's not even worth it. And most people wouldn't take the risk. So I understand, and your thoughts and your concerns are understandable. I do understand, but it's not it's a fallacy. It's not. It wouldn't happen.
Mr. Dawson.
Well, I'll tell you, Cheshire doesn't want it. We represent the people of Cheshire, and as different ones said here, they did talk to people about it, and your special approval, and as far as I'm concerned, we don't want it, we don't need it, and I'm voting against it.
Mr. Mercado.
I don't know why we're even speak about it when it's not even allowed. If this gets passed, come back and see us. Right now, it's not allowed. There's no way we're voting yes on something that's not even allowed. I mean, we're breaking the law right there, in my eyes.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not gonna
misinterpretation.
vote for something that's not allowed. Sorry.
Because who knows what they change it to? Who knows what they change, what they say, whatever else. That's one thing. And I mean, I can think ahead too. Anyone that's going to spend $3 million on a place, on a license, is only going to grow 80,000 square feet. I mean, why wouldn't they grow to the full potential, the 250,000 square feet?
It's not practical. To be
It's not
honest with you.
practical?
It would be so hard to grow 250,000 square feet of canopy. Like it would. It's just not. It's really
How large are the locations in Simsbury and Rocky Hill? And
Simsbury, 68,000 square feet with a 45,000 square foot addition that's about to start. That was
Okay.
approved right before I came to this community. I'm not familiar with the other two facilities,
They're
their
all
size.
probably relatively around.
They're all about the same size?
About the same size, yeah.
okay.
250,000 square feet was just way too much canopy. They would admit it's way too much canopy. It's just not practical.
So I see the hands going up like that, and that's fine. But so you don't understand about us not wanting to vote for something that's not a law now, and there's no way for you to wait until they actually
No, that's
pass
fine.
the
If you-
law.
No,
I mean, we're not saying we're opposed to it. Some people have said they're opposed to it completely. I'm not opposed to an agricultural use in this town, that's for sure. But I am opposed to voting for something that we might get and we might not get. And we don't know what it is we're going to get. That's my issue with this whole thing.
Yeah, no, I understand. And listen,
I can't listen to you from there. You have to. I'm not keeping you from the mic. You can get up and speak at the mic. It's not for my record too. It's for the record that is being kept.
Bottom line, if that's the case and we wait till next year, I can't do a deal with the existing people. And so if I can't do a deal, I have to close down. I have to let go 25 people. They go on the unemployment rolls.
So put it the other way. How can you be so sure they're going to change it in Hartford to allow it?
Because
So why
this
would
is-
you make a deal? Why would anyone make a deal with you? That's a bad deal for them to make because they're not sure it's going to be changed. You can go both ways.
We know, well, I can't say we know, but we came within one vote in the last session, and what they did was establish a task force to study this, where they have 9 people assigned to it, of which 7 we already know are firmly in our court. So it's been held back by social equity, quite frankly. I mean, Robert could address that. It's been
But we
held
can't
back.
throw Cheshire under the bus for one business
I'm not
and do it something that's not even legal. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what the bill's going to come out to be. We don't know how bad or how good it's going to be. So if anything, we on the side of error and caution, we have to wait. We have to.
That's your vote, yes. I will tell you also, and Mr. Glidden is aware of this because I sent it to him, there was a lawsuit by another hemp farmer against Suffield, and the hemp farmer won. And this is an identical situation. So Mr. Glidden might share with you that lawsuit. I haven't brought it up because I'm not litigious. I don't want to do that. But somebody already did it, and they won. So there's
Against the
previous
town or against
law.
the state?
This is in the state.
So they already sued the
Suffield.
state.
No, they sued the town of Suffield
For what?
because Suffield wouldn't allow them to be able to do a cultivation license in the town, just like you're not allowing me to.
But the state doesn't allow it, so how would they sue and win? I don't understand.
You want to read the, Mr. Glidden has the lawsuit. He has it.
But could I just, I don't mean to do it
Yeah.
like this. Mr. Smith, are you an attorney?
I am not.
Okay, just making sure. I would say that it's case-specific. This is very different facts. And if that's the route they're choosing, then as your staff, we have a full-time attorney. Obviously, they want to take it to the court. It could be adjudicated in the court rather than here.
And we can get the
And
town
I'll sleep
attorney's
well with
opinion
that.
too on whether we should
Yep.
vote on something that is not an actual law in this state. I mean, that's just protecting us. Was that your point, Mr. Bowman? I'm sorry. But not, Mr. Bowman, you have the floor.
You stole my.
I'm sorry.
That's what we have a town attorney for? Neither of these gentlemen are attorneys? You're telling us that we don't allow cultivation right now in the town of Cheshire? They seem to beg to differ with you. I will say the night of that vote, I was not here, so I don't know what you removed and didn't remove. But I will also be voting against this. There's no, this makes no sense. There's no benefit to the town of Cheshire. They've admitted to there being an odor problem. There is an 18-acre piece of property that's involved here that has the ability to expand. They're saying that greenhouses are allowed. You're explaining to us that greenhouses are not allowed in the cultivation of marijuana. I'll go with you, and if they prefer to bring a suit against us, God bless them. That's what God made attorneys for.
Well, they don't have to bring a suit. They can bring in the actual law and maybe.
Yeah, no,
To see
yeah,
if-
listen,
see-
I can provide, I can provide the proof that greenhouses are permittable
Okay.
for cannabis cultivation.
Okay,
I'm-
yeah.
I will
There's
bet
pu-
everything.
Public's been here for a while. I'm going to give them a chance to
I
to
understand.
speak.
I'm not trying
so.
to belittle or demean, but I'm positive.
Okay. So, well, you're going to have plenty of time because we don't meet in August and this is
Yeah,
going to be
so
held open. So,
I'll send you all that information, or I can
Send
reach
it
out
to staff,
Yeah, it's
not
not
to
to
the
me.
commission.
Yes, that's fine. I'll send it to the staff, or I'll have the Department of Consumer Protection send it to the staff. I can request that.
perfect.
And it won't come from me. It'll come from them.
Perfect. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Sure. Come on up to the mic. We need your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you
Thank you.
all. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening to the commission, good evening, staff. My name is Lou Rinaldi. I reside at 201 Water Street in Guilford. However, I spent the first 21 years of my life in this town. I grew up, ironically, on Marion Road, and then later off of Summit Road. I started school at Chapman. Then, after we moved, I went to Highland, Dodd, and graduated from Cheshire High School, class of 1995, with Steve Bowman, Carla Russo, and any number of folks can vouch for that. I love this town so much that I still drive up here to go to my dentist, Renee Kurtz. You know, it's not a close drive, but I do it anyway. So I'm a product of the public schools here. I'm also a father of 3, and I'm also a medical cannabis patient. Part of that is I am an advocate for patients. I worked with Connecticut's House Majority Leader, Jason Rojas, on the previous legislative session to get a ombudsman bill passed to create a cannabis ombudsperson for the state of Connecticut, first in the nation. That individual was formally hired at the end of May, and you may wonder, why do we even need someone like that? And it's been touched on a little bit already. There's a lot of moving parts in the state's emerging cannabis industry, but there is one common theme, and that has been, in my opinion at least, that the state regulators, specifically the Department of Consumer Protection, placing corporate interests ahead of medical patients like myself and those who are in considerably greater suffering than myself. We have suffered due to the aforementioned captured market. The fact that essentially 4 suppliers, these incumbent licensees, control the entire supply chain for both the medical and the adult use side. They are not practicing what I would consider to be safe and high quality practices in their cultivation and their production and manufacturing. In the end of 2021, there was an article in Hearst Connecticut Media Group in which I was quoted that exposed that the state had been complicit in collusion between the regulator and one of the 2, at the time there were 2 testing labs in the state that were authorized to test cannabis for safety, to make sure that there's no contaminants, no mycotoxins, no heavy metals, that kind of thing. One of those labs, that lab that was colluding, it has since been shut down because of the way that I was able to tie the public data showing that they were giving a passing grade to products that should have been failing for yeast and mold. A lot of medical patients have mold allergies, they're immunocompromised, that sort of thing. So why do I say all that? It's because that is par for the course in my experience in all the years that I've been a medical patient, is that the Department of Consumer Protection generally has brought in outside counsel from other markets and created the system of regulatory capture that we have here today. And you go to any retail location in the state of Connecticut, you put your money in one of 4 buckets, because it's still basically those same 4 companies, and they're low quality. I hate to make the comparison to alcohol, but if it was a liquor store, you go in there, it's the bottom shelf product. Absolute trash that's in there, not fit for medicine. We want choice, right? We want to be able to support local craft growers. I grew up on Marion Road with farms all around me. I'm very familiar with the West Johnson area, obviously, 21 years in the town. And all the way on the other side to Brooksville, and whether it be commercial or family farms, orchards, anything like that, I believe I'd try to support the smaller growers whenever I can for both myself and my family. And our state, and even in this town, you've recognized that and supported craft brewing as an art form, and it's the same for the cannabis plant. There's people who are growing it from a sense of pride and craft, and they actually care about what they're doing and they care about the end result. They're not just looking to, like you said, maximize for square footage, crank out as much product as they can, get the margins as high as they possibly can. There's people that just want to take pride in the craft of what they're doing and get that product out there to patients like myself. It's already been mentioned numerous times in here, this town has a proud agricultural history. And I think Cheshire has a tremendous opportunity to demonstrate leadership here. I understand the concerns. Again, I'm a family man myself. I've seen things go all sorts of different ways. But I think if it is approached mindfully and if it is approached in a structured way, I think it can be a tremendous success for the town. I'm not an attorney, but I do wonder if there's a way to, rather than is the door open or closed, as has been said a couple times, is there a way to provisionally open the door for a specific part of town, or potentially, this would take effect, contingent upon blah, 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 like you said, in Hartford. I don't know enough about crafting the language of such things to be able to say that, but it would be my estimation that it is not necessarily a binary decision, a 1 or a 0. So I would love to see Cheshire show the rest of Connecticut what craft excellence can be and help our state's medical patients like myself. And all this aside, I want to thank you for your service to this lovely town, and it's always great to come back here and see where I grew up. So thank you all for your time.
Hold on, I want to ask you something. You seem to have a lot of knowledge in the medical marijuana field.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me your opinion on why you think all these medical facilities are failing or switching over to recreational use?
It's about taxation. Medical purchases are not taxable.
Because the government's involved in
And
your
the way,
business.
the way that the recreational legalization was done was to provide multiple layers of taxes. There's a total of about 20% of tax. Some of that is excise, some of that is, strictly allocated to the municipality. I think it's like 3%. And then there's it's a significant revenue associated with the recreational side. Medical, when I became a patient, the population was somewhere around 54,000 registered patients in the state of Connecticut, like myself. That number, I last checked it about a month and a half ago, it is down below 40,000 now. And as Mr. Smith alluded to earlier, the sales have cratered. The prices are wildly out of touch with reality, with neighboring markets such as Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine especially. Connecticut is really just giving the game away to this handful of very well-heeled multi-state companies, multi-state corporations. And I hate to see it as a patient. I hate to see that happen because people cannot get the specific products that they're looking for. And if they can find them, as I said, they're preemptively irradiating this. They're basically putting it in a microwave to try to compensate for the fact that they don't know how to grow with integrated pest management and ways to keep it clean and keep the grow rooms clean. So they were irradiating it until DCP stepped in a couple of years ago. They were using ozone treatments. Ozone, when it interacts with certain terpenes in cannabis, creates formaldehyde. And they were selling this to medical patients. And they're getting away with it because the regulator has, they constantly have to refer to outside experts because they don't know what they're doing. So they're constantly bringing in people from these other markets who are also in bed with these same corporations who are basically going to say whatever they have to say to maintain the status quo so that they can have that first mover advantage and that massive market share exclusivity by virtue of the limited licensing. So what that all means in the end from the patient perspective is that choice is limited, prices are astronomical, and the majority of the money that patients are spending on this medicine is going to Massachusetts right now because it's like a fifth of the price, especially if you're buying at quantity. Even Rhode Island, they have medical reciprocity where they will accept a Connecticut patient's medical card at a Rhode Island facility and sell it tax-free. And a lot of folks are still driving up to Maine for the same reason. So it's tremendously sad to see how the launch of this industry has gone in the state. And I genuinely feel for the whole not wanting to put the cart before the horse, but I wonder, is there a creative solution to be found in the nuance in the space between here? Is there a way to say, provisional approval pending X happens in the 2025 legislative session, otherwise this goes away immediately? Or is there a way to limit it to, it must be an existing, basically language that could be crafted to limit the scope so that, as staff said, it doesn't end up being, we're throwing the whole barn door open.
We'll have some time to think about that and
Appreciate it.
what's going on with, we get the answers to the questions that we've had up here. I know I had two. I don't know who wants to go first. Age before beauty, what do you think?
I'll go beauty first. Sorry, Matt. So, you want to go or you want?
I gotta catch my breath. My mother and father both died of cancer. My father had a card. The boy that you graduated with had brain cancer. So, I've been down this road. But it's still against the law in the state of Connecticut. And you need to change it at the top. We don't need to change it here. You change it, we'll look at it. Thank you.
Appreciate that,
Mr.
sir.
Natali.
Thank you.
And I gotta apologize. I don't mean to sound argumentative, but I have, I think, 4 or 5 questions for you, okay?
Sure, yeah.
What's allowed in Guilford?
What's
for-
allowed in
yeah, for
Guilford,
cannabis?
I've been to the, it's funny you should mention that. I testified at the hearings in Guilford. They are currently, they've backpedaled a bit from, they had a full-blown moratorium that they've extended a few times so they could have a little bit of time to sort of process and figure out which of the 11 license types or use types do they want to allow in the town. They're in a little bit of an interesting situation there because at the same time that they have prohibited retail, they have a place called Puff City, which bills itself as a tobacco store, which it is absolutely not. And they're allowed to open up on the Boston Post Road because they play tricks with planning and zoning there. I don't know how the hell they got that approved. But Guilford is currently reviewing the moratorium ended on June 30th, and I believe they filed one additional extension. They don't plan to put it out for a referendum. Matt Hoey, the first selectman, wants to focus on education and awareness and using any potential tax revenue that may be generated from these businesses to put back into drug education and addiction education and services in the town.
So you've come back to Cheshire to advocate for us to allow this. Have you advocated for cultivators to be allowed in your town?
Yes, sir, many times.
And this is where I don't mean to sound argumentative, but you've mentioned the 4 companies that control this in the state. Unless you heard something differently tonight, I don't know if one of those 4 companies is the partner or one of the 2 partners that are looking for him.
They're not.
Well, I haven't heard it, don't know that, but from what I've read and from what I've heard, these companies use the social equity as figureheads.
Yep. You're 100%
Take
right.
somebody that knows nothing about anything, they say you own X percent, and that's it. That's all they're using them for.
And I don't want to interrupt. You're 100% accurate on that. A lot of the social equity companies that have opened up more recently are shell companies of those 4. And they have their tokens that they put in front for the photo op with the legislators and the ribbon cuttings. And in April of this year, I was at the Capitol lobbying for patients, and I heard one of these folks testify that they want to reduce the time period after which they can buy those social equity partners out of their ownership stake from 7 years down to 3 years. Basically, hey, thanks for helping us get open. Thanks for helping us get the license. Now get the hell out. We got what we needed from you. Now get out of here. So you're spot on with that, and that information is fully accurate.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any other questions or respond to anything that the commission may have.
Well, I think that's good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for your time and consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
I just want to say one final thing, and that's I want to thank you for your time. And I hope that by listening to us, you became further educated a little bit. I don't know. And as I said, I'm happy to show my facility to anyone that has any interest in seeing it, because it would be a shame that I have to close it. That's all. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you understand we're not against your business, but I mean, a lot of us have said here that it's not something that if it's not allowed in the state, it's kind of hard for us to put it in. And
I
think
totally
with us
get that.
listening to what you've been saying, that might show you and for your potential partner that maybe
Maybe
there
there's
is some hope here.
possibility
Yeah.
down the road.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I will say that I don't think we shut you down or did anything that would deter you
just-
from doing anything.
It's just for me to stay open another year and absorb the losses that I'm taking.
And it's
very
also for us to
No, I-
listen to you
and
and
I-
say, Hartford's going to do this for me, and when Hartford doesn't do anything, not anything right, but it just,
Then
it's,
maybe we could do something where it.
well, let's,
if
we have a
Hartford
month.
doesn't do anything, get rid of it. I mean.
We don't have it now, so it's not like we have to get rid of it, but.
Can I go, I'm sorry, I have a question for you. Sorry. Go ahead, Anita.
So if I understand correctly, a lot of the impetus or the catalyst for this is this desire to bring more of the medical marijuana into the marketplace because a lot of the growers or the cultivators, it's being absorbed by the retail.
It's both. It's to establish a craft industry with a partner who is not an MSO, is not wealthy, borrowed the $3 million, and that's about all they have to their name. Actually, they owe the $3 million.
So what percent of
And then
your...
the medicinal.
What percent of your partner's business will be focused, or receipts will focus on the medicinal versus the retail?
I can't speak for them because we don't have a deal, but I would say that I am in favor of 50% medicinal. 50% for
Okay.
those people that need this. They need it, and it's not being addressed.
But
And the
there's no
numbers show
commitment
that.
as to how that's going to what those percentages will be.
Pardon?
There's no commitment, or you're not aware.
I can't make that commitment because I don't have a deal.
I just
This is
didn't know if
kind
you
of.
It's not
guys-
even legal. You can't make it. You can't make a commitment because it's not even legal to happen. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're jumping ahead. I mean, we're willing to listen to you, but
No,
we kind of need something that makes it legal for us to vote on it. I mean, that's where I sit. This whole thing. You know, I'm not against agriculture. You know.
No, I know.
Why would I be?
I-
You know.
I thought, and this is, I was the only one to testify at the moratorium. You may recall that. Which was like 3 years
There's
ago.
a lot of people that were here.
Not at the
Oh,
moratorium.
the moratorium. I'm sorry.
Not at the moratorium. It was only me.
Yep.
And
And then we stuck up for you.
And you
yeah.
did, and God bless you. And
Yeah.
I thought, because I did get a call from the town of Cheshire, said that you passed, cultivation is allowed. So that's why I wasn't following, shame on me, when the moratorium ended, that it went where everything was against. Because I got a call from the town of Cheshire saying, yeah, they voted to allow cultivation. Am I not accurate in that? Mr. Glenn?
It was voted at the time, and then we changed it when we heard.
You're not accurate on that statement.
yeah, but-
Micro cultivators, what
A
we
micro,
allow-
not a cultivator.
Not a
yeah,
cultivator.
micro
So-
cultivator.
I
Yeah, you're not
misunderstood.
accurate.
I thought,
It was a micro cultivator that we fought, because I think that's all you wanted to be, was a micro cultivator.
No, I did not,
Well, you
because-
might have expressed your, well, I'm not gonna, it was 3 years ago.
It's water over the dam.
And like I said, this is a public hearing that's gonna be extended open, because if you could get those answers to us, that would be great.
There's
But I
no
ain't gonna tell
problem-
you,
There's no problem with the greenhouse thing. It's all over the place.
I just, because I've heard different than that, but
If-
yes.
If the commission's going to keep the public hearing open, we need a 35-day extension from the applicant. Because your
we're in
mandatory
a
action
mandatory
date's
action
going to be
date.
middle of August. Otherwise,
Otherwise, we have to
you
vote
have to
tonight.
close the hearing and vote tonight. You cannot receive any new information if you close the hearing tonight.
Do you understand that?
He's saying we need to.
We have to act on it unless you.
I have time, so.
Okay, so
I-
if you would write a letter saying that we can have an extension to this mandatory action date,
You already
then it goes into our September meeting.
Okay.
But I would love to have those answers. I'm just stressing to you, please
When
get
you
me
say
those
those
answers.
answers, specifically, I know one is the
The
greenhouse.
greenhouse, what was the other one I asked?
Do you need to know what the DCP requires in terms of fencing and
That would be,
security?
sure, yeah.
Well, we can do that.
I mean, that came up from Mr. Strollo, so yeah.
Wasn't there information on, it has to be inside of a building, it has to be
That's the greenhouse
exhausted,
part.
it
That's
has
the
to be
greenhouse part.
filtered. So any of the air in there has to be filtered, and then that has to be tested.
I don't believe that's the case, but I will certainly endeavor to find that answer. I don't believe
I
that's
think
the
it is
case.
unless it got changed, because I actually did research on those filters, so it was in there unless something happened in the last year and a half where they changed it, that's in there.
Well, again, I know that they changed the greenhouse thing probably 3 months after the original law was passed.
Okay,
And
so
allowed
if you get us
open
that
grows.
answer, that
I
would.
will get you that
would be
information. I
great, and
just
we will
wanted to
get you
know-
the answer on the town attorney on how he
Besides
feels.
that, what other information you wanted? I'll
Whatever
get you-
questions we've asked tonight, I mean, that's,
I have a couple more questions, I'm sorry. So, Mr. Glidden, if, for some crazy reason, we did approve this, and it came back for an application, and the state says, well, you could have a greenhouse, do we have the ability, since it's a special permit, to say, no, it's got to be in an enclosed space, it's got to have because I remember when we first contemplated this, we looked up the regulations that were in Colorado with the huge filters and all,
So-
the control out there. Do we have that ability?
So I gave Mr. Smith those regulations and suggested that he use those as the application. He did not provide those. So, yeah, you should have those standards in place because they were very specific.
But if the state says it could be a greenhouse, can we say, nope, it's got to be in a closed building?
You
it's gotta
could,
be-"
you could under your special permit process and say, nope, we want it in a building. And that, probably the reasoning should be is that you need a full enclosure where you're not having the smells escape, because they do escape out of those buildings, especially those
absolutely.
large-scale grow facilities.
Absolutely, and I got to say, when we talked about it last time, when this came up, I mentioned that I have friends that live in Watertown, down the street from UPS and all that, and like Mr. Strolla said, we go up there in their pool, I mean, you're smelling it, and they're a good 3/4 of a mile away.
I can only say from personal experience, I don't smell anything within 100 yards of
But you're,
of my
I mean,
property.
okay, you're around it every day, so if I'm around something
No,
every day, I kind of get immune to it.
I go there once a week. But
So just one thing that, I'll stop after this. The chairman did mention what's in this for the town. So I'd like to know what's in it for the town. You mentioned that, fine, we get tax money, but you mentioned that your workforce is from Meriden, so we're not supporting the workforce here in Cheshire. What is the benefit to the town if we were to approve this for you?
Well, I believe that my property would be worth a hell of a lot more, and you could tax the shit out of me, real estate-wise.
Taxation does not fall under our
Yeah.
purview, planning and zoning.
Well, that's an advantage to the town, I would believe. It's money that goes into the town's coffers.
Okay, like I said.
I would ask you back, what's the negative? You seem to have brought up that it smells,
Yeah,
but I don't agree with that.
that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
I've experienced it, I've been around other facilities, and it smells.
I would love for you to come and take a tour.
If anyone wanted to take a tour, would they go through Mike, Mr. Glidden, to,
I mean, I would not recommend that we do that during the process of this public.
yeah, that would be for, not a zone text, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be more
a-
site-specific
Yep.
during an application, and I would.
Because it could be anywhere in this town.
I would suggest that we would do that as a site visit, a noticed hearing, so the public is allowed to. Kind of similar what the Wetlands Commission does when they do a site visit, not an individual. Because the other thing is that we can't engage in conversations privately. That's ex parte communication, which cannot occur
Yes.
with the pending hearing. I know the commission knows this, I'm just stating it for the benefit of the applicant.
Thank you.
He knows it too, because I talked to him about it when he
Yeah,
tried to
I
call
mean,
me, so.
Stay away.
Mr. Kaderis, a question over there?
Yes, sir.
How many square feet of hemp are you growing now?
Right now, we have 60,000 square feet of hemp that we're growing.
And how much,
We produce about 90 pounds a week.
okay, now, of that, and you want to grow 80,000 square feet, right?
No,
What-
would be the same, it's the same space.
Okay. What is the difference in the smell of hemp and cannabis?
It's the same plant, sir. It
So-
really is. Other than the amount of THC, the cannabinoid in the plant, they're identical. You put a marijuana plant and a hemp plant next to each other, you cannot tell the difference.
So you're growing 60,000 square feet right now.
Correct.
And have there been any complaints in the town about the smell?
There's been no complaints to me, I know that.
I think John wants to speak.
Oh, Mr. Hilsinger, sorry.
My house is 3/4 of a mile from your farm. Depending on the wind direction, I smell it all the time. My place of business is on Schoolhouse Road, about a half a mile. If the wind's blowing that way, I smell it. Driving on East Johnson, I smell it.
Well, if that's the case, I'm happy to put filters in or to get rid of the smell.
How are you going to do that with open greenhouse?
I don't know, there's a way to do it. I'm just saying,
That's one more thing you could work on in our little break through August, okay?
filters?
Well, no, a solution to an issue that could be, the smell issue that could be, that could come in front of you. You could have a counter attack to say that this is what I'm going to put in, this is what is used at most other places to combat the smell that
Yeah.
might be coming from there.
And not to be argumentative, I'm not aware of anyone using filters in the state of Connecticut. That's why you smell it.
I remember when
Watertown.
we had people, we had the 4 different ones.
Facility in Simsbury,
Yeah.
I could say this because I was there as it went into.
You gave us the information.
Yeah, they use charcoal filters. They had an infiltration system which fails when it's 45 degrees and raining.
Yeah, I remember.
The filtration system then kind of, it's almost like a, just absolutely non-existent in those weather conditions. And then those smells would leave the facility. So I've seen it. It doesn't work.
Okay, we have a little bit of homework. Do you have some
All right,
homework?
thank you for your time again.
We'll see you in September. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Motion by Mr. Natale, seconded by Mr. Kaderis. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Moving on, let's call to order the Planning and Zoning regular meeting for July 22nd, 2024. Can I get a motion to accept the public hearing and regular meeting from July 8th, 2024?
So moved.
Move Mr. Kaderis, seconded by Mr. Bricado. Discussion, comments, anything on the motion? I'm sorry, on the motion in front of us on the minutes. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The motion carries 801 with Mr. Natale abstaining. Any communications come before us tonight?
No.
Okay. 1, we are voting on in September. 2, the public hearing is left open. And under new business, we have a motion for the cottage foods license.
Yes, you do. A motion to approve application for a special permit on behalf of Barbara Budd, applicant. Applicant's requesting special permit pursuant to Section 30, Schedule A of the Cheshire zoning regulations for a cottage food license at the property located at 815 Marion Road, Assessors Map 34, Lot 13, Zone R80. The commission finds, based on the presentation documentation provided, the applicant demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire zoning regulations.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Bricado, second by Mr. Kaderis. Discussion on the motion.
Yep, a nice, lovely little business coming into town. Love to see these coming. Thank you.
Yep, and going forward, me and Mr. Glidden did speak today about these cottage foods things. I think I mentioned it before. They're really not a nuisance to anyone, and it seems like a lot of work for them to go through to have a public hearing that lasts 30 seconds and explain what their kitchen looks like. It really makes no sense for them to come in front of us. So,
Do you want me to file a text amendment for
Yes.
September, and we'll put it as a
as long as
use?
September's not too busy, that's,
So right now, you're going to have, so for public hearings, we'll have obviously this current text amendment pending.
oh, this would be quick too. Yeah, just file it. This would be
Okay,
easy.
but you also have a 30-lot subdivision on Marion Road at 1513 and 1481 Marion Road that was received. But it's in the middle of a public hearing with the Wetlands Commission, but it'll be opening in September.
Okay.
So I know on the little cottage industry, signage and delivery, that's like our key things that we look at. Is that would be in the
There'll be a
regs?
regulation for
We
it.
I can add that
Yeah,
into
no
the
customers
regulation.
coming.
Okay, we're getting ahead here. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. You already went through, we're having the public hearings September 9th for the 30-lot subdivision. Is there anything else to come before the commission tonight?
That's it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Dawson, second by Mr. Natale, and everybody's in favor.